That Tom Holland, that guy can climb. Uncharted, released in 2022 and is directed by Ruben Fleischer, who has also directed such films like Zombieland, 30 Minutes or Less, Gangsta Squad, Zombieland Double Tap, and Venom. Can Tom Holland not get away from the whole Spider-Man franchise ever? Come on, let this guy's career breathe! And of course, this movie is starring Tom Holland, Sophia Ali, Tati Gabrielle, Antonio Banderas, and Mark Wahlberg. What, you forgot that Mark Wahlberg was in this movie? Well gosh, they kept reminding you the entire time. Come on, it's Mark Wahlberg. Hey everybody, look! It's Mark Wahlberg! Nathan Drake has always been fascinated with history and treasure hunting, and as he's gotten older, he's become a pretty talented bartender and pickpocketer himself. Until one day when he crosses paths with Victor Sully Sullivan, who is wanting to hire Nathan for a job of retrieving the key that could lead the way to a buried treasure. And after they get the keys, they cross paths with a multitude of other scavengers and pickpocketers that they team up with, and bigger treasure hunters who have a lot more money and guns in their arsenal, while they all go looking for treasure. And of course, this movie is based off of the video game series of the same name that is my favorite video game series. I will put that down right now. Playing those games, every single one of them, 1 through 4, and then also The Lost Legacy. I just have so much fun playing those games. The open world concepts, the puzzle cracking, and the exploration, especially when you get to the climbing scenes, like you're climbing up a huge mountain, or you're climbing up a huge tower that you need to get the special thing in at the very top, and then you stop, and you look out, and you see just this beautiful horizon that the game creators have created. It's stunning. And I'm very behind the times when it comes to video games. I will gladly admit that. But you know, it's nice to be that way, because if I'm like 4 or 5 years behind everything, when I finally do purchase video games or purchase gaming consoles, they're much cheaper. So I only had a PS4 and Uncharted for the first time back in, I want to say 2018? Yeah, it hasn't been too long and way after those games came out. But those games are incredible, and if I could give you one big recommendation, go play those games. Do the remastered ones of the earlier video games, play Uncharted 4, which is amazing. They're all just great. Can we just talk about those and not this movie, because it's kind of just generic. To say I was worried about this film is an understatement, because I have such love for the video games that I wanted a movie based on Uncharted to be exactly right. Is this movie exactly right? No, not really. And I should preface that when I say exactly right, I know that it's all art and everything is open to interpretations. Actors are allowed to interpret the characters as they will. Directors are open to do that too with this world. I get that. But for me, I just have my own personal connection with the video game. So if you're going to adapt the video game into a movie, I just want to see the video game in the movie, please. And it really all started with the casting of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. I love Tom Holland. I love that guy. He is a great person. Love him as Spider-Man. He just isn't Nathan Drake to me. I feel like Tom Holland's always going to have that younger, boyish charm about him, and Nathan Drake, to me, is just a little older, probably in maybe his late 30s going on all these quests. Nathan Fillion would have been an amazing Nathan Drake in real life. Of course, I think that ship has sailed, or flown sailed if you've seen this movie already. But Tom Holland's just not screaming Nathan Drake for me. That being said though, Tom Holland, of course, he can climb a wall, and I feel like he was settling into the Nathan Drake idea and mentality towards the end of this film. But when the film starts and he's a bartender in New York City, he kind of just seemed like a dick. Just this arrogant prick who always knows the right thing to say and quickie comebacks that are kind of dickish. I never got dickish from Nathan Drake in the video games. Yes, he was quippy and he cracked jokes, but I don't know, it was all out of fun. Whereas Tom Holland in the first half of this movie just seems like he's doing it to be a dick. But then towards the second half, when he starts putting on the Nathan Drake costume, really, of this button-up long-sleeve shirt that he rolls up the sleeves and puts the gun holsters on, then I start liking him more as Nathan Drake, even though it's still Tom Holland to me. And then Mark Wahlberg as Sully, I still don't understand. In the video game, Sully's supposed to have gray hair, like he's in his 50s, and Here, Mark Wahlberg definitely doesn't look like that. And I feel like it was just Mark Wahlberg being Mark Wahlberg. Hey kid, you gonna cause a distraction? Because I need to get the key, and if you don't cause a distraction, I can't get it. Come on, man, let's talk about science. Yeah, he was just Mark Wahlberg. He's definitely not Sully in this movie. Probably my favorite performance from this movie, though, is Sophia Ali as Chloe Fraser, who is a great character in the game. So great that they did a whole spin-off video game called The Lost Legacy that she's the star of. I love her in the games, and she was actually very impressive here, and I could feel that, hey, this is Chloe Fraser in this world and in this film. So thank you, Sophia, for being the only one that really felt like you were the character from the video game. Now, probably many of you have listened to my review so far and said, oh, he's just comparing it to the video game. You shouldn't do that. I totally understand. But again, for me, I just love the video game so much, and if I'm going to see a film adaptation, I want to see the exact things from the video game in there represented correctly. And I feel the majority of this film, I did not. Now, it's a nice treasure hunt. I love treasure hunt films. I'm a sucker for them, so I'm going to have a good time in them regardless. And for the majority of the time, I had an okay time with this film. I wasn't feeling myself fully invested, like caring about everything as the action happened and quips were said and things were being done. I just kind of sat there and went, yeah, okay. Until we finally get to the Uncharted aspects of the movie. You've seen it in the trailer where Tom Holland flies out of an airplane, he's grabbing onto the cargo hold, and part of me was like, yes, finally, something from the video game, some aspect of the video game is here. Let's see what happens. But it's so far gone, it's at the end of Act 2, it's really far into this movie to where I'm sitting there going like, it might just be too late for me. It's just not hitting. And we do have a treasure hunt that leads to finding a treasure in these old ships, which reminds me a lot of Uncharted 4. But just doing a treasure hunt is not the Uncharted way. Like, any film could do that. Indiana Jones does that, where they go on a treasure hunt and then they find it. The thing about Uncharted was the climbing and the aspect of jumping and climbing up walls and climbing up big statues and big mountains. We really didn't get a ton of climbing in this movie, which is a shame because you could tell that Tom Holland really worked out his upper body. His shoulders, his pectoral muscles are jacked in this movie. But we didn't get a lot of climbing. When he does climb, it's very impressive and it's like, hey, there's Spider-Man again. But the whole thing about Uncharted is that he climbs everywhere and climbs all the time. And there's just a lack of climbing. And the villain of this movie is a villain to be a villain for villain's sake until they're not the villain and someone else becomes the villain, if that makes sense. Yeah, Antonio Banderas is here because the story just needs another person going after the treasure so that it creates a sense of urgency. But in terms of villainy and causing us to not like him for some reason, I wasn't really getting that at all, nor did I care. I just wanted to go back to our heroes. And even when we went back to our heroes, I was just like, okay, what's the point of looking for this thing? There's nothing that's making me want to see the next scene or making me want to see the next movie. Would I watch Uncharted 2 if they do decide to make it? Yes, absolutely, because it's Uncharted and I love Uncharted. But I hope if they do continue this series that they just give more. They give more story and a more accurate representation of the video game. Give us climbing. Give us more of a history lesson. Connect our heroes with what they're doing in the present day to what they were doing back in the times when the treasure was being laid to rest. It's a film that's not terrible by any means, but it's also just kind of a shoulder shrug. It's fine. It's nothing special. I'm gonna give Uncharted 2.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I found that if you have a goal, that you might not reach it. But if you don't have one, then you are never disappointed. And I gotta tell you, it feels phenomenal. Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my videos where I randomly select which movie I'm gonna be watching next, so let's take a look. The Expendables! Yay! More mindless action from juiced up, muscled up guys. When everyone's career is over and Sylvester Stallone comes a-knockin', you answer the call. I've only seen this movie once, but I remember it being just a thoughtless, fun action time with a bunch of action people, so let's check it out next time. So guys, have you seen Uncharted? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of The Expendables. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.